Hey everybody, it's Chris. Tonight's review is going to be of the Dynamic Discs Deputy. Deputy is the Trilogy Challenge putter this year that Dynamic is making. It's going to be a fairly low profile, understable putter. You can argue that maybe it has the smallest microbeads, but I would just say it's a non-beaded disc. Like I said, it is going to be understable. So in the review, you're going to see me throw it in the field to warm up. You're going to see me throwing it stacked against the Swan Reborn. You're going to see a lot of course work, and then you're going to see a couple throws with the Seric. It's not because the Seric is anything like the Deputy, but it's because I had the Seric out during that round, so I was throwing both of them, and you can see the very pronounced differences in their flight. Whereas the Seric I would turn it over and it would slam back to center. I'm actually throwing the Deputy on hyzer, and you're watching it flip and turn out a little bit as well. So getting the comparisons of how they fly, I think, is important, even though they're very different discs. The Swan Reborn comparison, I think, is actually a lot closer, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that in the reviews, because the Deputy throw at that point wasn't that great. But you're actually going to see these discs, one, me become more comfortable with them, and they break in during the testing process. Whereas they start and they have a little bit of fade, which I've heard is completely abnormal and is probably my fault, just the throwing technique. By the end of the video, they're being thrown on hyzer, coming up flat, and even ending up right if I put any power on them. So I look forward to getting your comments on this one. Please hit me up with anything you've got. I'll love to get back to you. They are a fairly smooth putter if you like a non-beaded putter. They're pretty fast and they glide well, so they're good for distance putts, I think. And following that up, sneak preview, next review will be the River Pro. That's going to be Latitude 64's fairway component of the Trilogy Challenge discs. For everybody saying this is going to be a go-to fairway for a lot of people in the near future, I definitely agree. The thing flies great. I really look forward to reviewing that one as well. But this is the Deputy. Watch the rest of the video. Hope you enjoy it. Hit me up with questions, and I'll get back to you. Thanks, everybody. Step 1 in testing is getting the discs out to the field the very first day you get them. There's about 60 to 65% power, just a gentle fade at the end, and this was just under 200 feet. Throw number 2 is a little more power. This is going to go 230, 240. Again, you can see that fade that I was talking about where I was kind of caught off guard with the stable finish. That is going to change as the video goes on. Here again, more power, a little more height. I got a good pull on this one, and I think it covered just over 300 feet. I was pretty surprised by how well it just kept going forward. And then the fourth throw is going to be an intentional turnover. It goes up high, you're going to see it start panning right, and it's going to disappear into the clouds, but it will cut across just above the church and end up toward the outfield. So here's the promised comparison of the Swan Reborn and the Deputy. The Swan has this beautiful, elegant flight that just keeps pushing forward and comes down fairly flat, whereas the Deputy is going to stall out. Again, as I mentioned, this is going to change eventually. I wish I'd redone this video. I just never took the time to, because I think the flights are much more similar now. The next few videos are from Cameron, Missouri. It's a little 9-holer with a ton of playground equipment, so if you have toddlers or something, this is a great place to stop if you're going between the Twin Cities and Emporia, Kansas. As you can see on that first flight, this just had a beautiful break right. Here I gave it a little bit more hyzer so I could put more power on it for a longer hole. It gets up toward the basket for me nicely. On the next couple, or on this shot, you're going to see me just stall it. Very short, like 170 or 180 foot hole. Here again, just a little bit of power, and you can see after it gets past my giant head, that it's breaking right into those trees. And the last shot from Cameron, just another shorty down to the pin. You can see the disc just floats right down to the basket. Gives easy putt. This stack view is 2 Deputies. The top view is going to be a flat release with a little bit of height. The bottom release is going to be with hyzer and aimed more down toward the pin. This gives a really good look at the characteristics of this disc in flight. The bottom one is still going to stand up and end up just right of the pin, whereas the top release, which was flatter, is going to turn over and end up very far right off on the screen. We'll give a short putting interlude from the throwing. Here's a 45-50 footer, horrible tee shot, really nice putt. Like I said, the Deputy has nice glide. And here's a shorter 15 to 18 footer. Alright, so getting back to throwing, here's the first stack view with Seric on top and Deputy on bottom. You're going to see the Seric I give just a little bit of torque, so it'll turn over and it hyzers up nicely to the pin, whereas the Deputy with a hyzer release is going to flip up and end up just right of the pin, and actually a little bit long as well. Acorn Park in Roseville, Minnesota has a lot of throws like this, so it's good to test putters at. You can see that nice understable finish to give an easy putt. If you watched my Sarek review, you heard me say I almost aced with it. It was on this hole. So back to back, I went dead center chain spit out and then off the top. Pretty decent hole. Here's Sarek versus Deputy 2. Again, I'm going to torque the Sarek just a little bit so that it'll fade back to the pin, whereas the Deputy is flipping up on its own. This disc is going to be a really easy thrower for new players. The final new shot of the video is just this really nice into the sunset shot. This disc holds a beautiful line, turns over just gently, and gives me a putt. Recap while watching that near ace again. The Deputy is an understable putt and approach disc. It's going to be a great line shaper in the woods. The understability will give it a nice late turn. If you're a new player or a slower arm speed, I could see this fitting you well. I hope this video was informative, helpful. If you liked it, feel free to give it a thumbs up, share it, or even subscribe. Thanks.